welcome to another edition of Liquid Health News. I am your host, Jefferson Nunn, and we have a lot of news for you today. First, we would welcome you to go to, if you're interested in supporting us, to go to uh, one of these places, to go to Liquid Health News, liquidhealth.news, and to view the news on there, like and subscribe, or to go to Biotoxin Foundation, that is biotoxinfoundation.org, and again, like and subscribe, and to follow the news. Either place will work. You can also go to Human IPO, where I am now listed. Any hours that are purchased from there can be done so, and the proceeds 100% go to the nonprofit foundation. So there's a variety of ways to support us if you're interested. This program is brought to you by Biotoxin Foundation, and it is also brought to you by Solve.care, pioneers of the blockchain space. So, news of the day. There are a variety of things that have happened over the past week, which is really just crazy. Bald eagles were declining in population for a very long time. Only recently were they finally coming back and growing. There were thousands of eagles, not just a few, thousands, and they were dying of some kind of nerve disease. And it turns out there was a specific algae that lives on a particular plant that the birds were eating, and it was causing them to die. So it was an algae that was causing their nerve death. And it took us from 1996 until 2021 to finally understand this. And this isn't even a toxin that's generated by humans. So really something to think about. There's also alpha toxins that can occur in our food and corn and wheat and things like that. It's actually causing 25% of the food to be destroyed. And this is a mycotoxin, a mold toxin. So mold can cause damage to the liver, to the kidneys. You know, it can suppress your immune diseases. And it's really something to worry about. And currently 25% of the world's population is being affected by this, of the food. I'm sorry, 25% of the food is being affected by this. So it's really something to worry about. And there needs to be more testing of this food to make sure that it's not harming us. We're also finding out that the sun can cause fossil fuels to, in coal burning plants and in some oil burning plants, it can cause the toxins in that to spread and to multiply. So that is to say that when a coal burning plant or the oil fired plant releases the toxins in the air and the sun beats down on it, those toxins actually disperse and multiply. And why is that a problem? Well, when we inhale it, there can be long-term effects from that toxin. So it's something to think about when you're trying to encourage more oil or coal firing plants to resume production. There's also, we're finding out that air pollution causes increased respiratory illnesses. We're seeing that over the last decade, more respiratory illnesses are occurring. And we're also worried about long-term exposure to a variety of toxins measured as ppm 2.5. And I can't do it in this particular show, but I think in the very next show, I'll show you why that could be interesting. And we have to worry more about 2.5 and even 5, ppm 5, particulate matters. We're also finding out that these hormone altering toxins can reduce the sperm count. And that is to say that we may enter a period of time where there may be no new babies. And in fact, there was a story about that called Children of Men. And, the trend is decreasing. There's an increasing amount of, women that have not been able to become pregnant, and they're using advanced fertility methods to become pregnant. And this trend will probably continue over the next 2 decades in greater and greater quantities. So there's a lot of news to worry about. So what can you do to make sure that you're not affected? You can try to make sure your home air is clean. You can try to make sure that your water is clean. And you can try to do as much as you can to see if your food is clean. And we've talked about that in prior shows. And there's been questions that I've read about in a variety of forms, and we'll be happy to answer them today. The first question would be, if you're trying to detox, as they say, what are the best methods of detoxing? It's an excellent question. And the answer is, it's complicated. To detox, first, your body has to be in a state that is not in a constant battle. So that's why I started off with, make sure your air is clean, make sure your water is clean, make sure your food is clean. And I've talked about that in prior shows, about what you can do, even in a very inexpensive method, to do those things. So that's the first step. The second step is you have to enable your body to detox. And there are a variety of ways to do that. You have to, For example, make sure that you move around at least a little bit to get the blood to circulate. You have to make sure that you're in a how do I say, to open up the detox pathways, right? And there's some debate about some of that, certain types of vitamins and minerals and things like that. One of the most effective methods that I found for that is if you're dealing specifically with, for example, mold, is to go and to do a sauna, a hot sauna. Um, when you're in a heated environment, 120 or so, and you want to be careful not to super irritate the cells in your body, all right? But you want the temperature to be high enough that the mold is not able to sustain that environment. It's the same thing as getting a fever, right? Um, and we've largely suppressed the fever condition for whatever reason over the last few decades. In fact, every time we get a fever, we get told, especially if it's for a long enough time, we get told to take a Tylenol, and the Tylenol will turn off the fever condition. And mold, on the other hand, has a certain temperature range that it likes. And if you get up to 120 degrees or more, and you can reliably survive that environment for 30 minutes, an hour at a time, it's safe, generally safe, as long as you don't have heart conditions and things like that. As always, seek medical advice before doing anything. But in a sauna environment, the mold can't live, so it'll die off. And you may have to do this a few times to get the entire colony of mold to die off within the body. And then you want to make sure the detox pathways are open. There's a variety of vitamins and minerals that you can take, which are good at helping that. Turmeric is good at, for example, reducing inflammation while you're doing that. And if you go onto our website, we have some checklists and so forth that we'll be publishing that'll go through that in more detail. But yes, detoxing can be good. There's another method. If you're dealing with heavy metal poisoning, that is to say, you do a test and it comes back positive for heavy metals, then you have to go through chelation therapy. And that can only be done by a doctor. And that's only specifically for heavy metals. And how do you get heavy metals? Well, there was for example, a guy that was an electrician for a very long time. And he got heavy metal poisoning from his environment. And there again, he had to do chelation therapy to be cured. So there's a variety of ways to detox, but you do not need to do expensive detox programs. A lot of these different detox programs can be very inexpensive. As I said, saunas, there's a lot of them around town. In most cities, they have them. If you live in an area that does not have them, granted, you can buy one of these things for $1,000. I know that can be pricey for some people. If it comes down to it, at least in the summertime or the summer months, you can get in your car. Just make sure there's oxygen running, but you can turn on a heater in your car. It's a sauna by any other name. Get a thermometer, check the temperature, get it up to 120. Again, make sure there's oxygen, crack the windows. Make sure you're not inside a garage, that you're in the outdoors. You don't want to get carbon monoxide poisoning while doing this. But if you're in a moving vehicle and it's at 120 or more, that's a sauna. So there's a variety of ways to do this. So there's been questions about what are the additional symptoms about biotoxin illnesses. And it can be a large variety. It can cause hair loss. It can cause fatigue. It can cause brain fog. It can cause cancers. It can cause blood sugar problems. It can cause lymph node issues, thyroid and lymph node issues. There's a lot of things that it can cause, none of which are fun to deal with. For example, nausea and vomiting. Absolutely, yes. You can lose your sense of direction, brain fog. You can have permanent tinnitus and hearing loss. And again, if you think something is mold, it probably is mold. There are a variety of mold testing kits that are out there, and you can use any of those to test. There's questions about okra and whether or not that can help detoxing. And the answer is yes, but you don't need to do, you don't have to have it as a primary diet, like that's all you eat all day. But, as a supplement, as another means of detoxing, it is helpful. You don't need to do the okra tablets. Simply going to the store and buying okra and just having it as a part of your regular diet is sufficient. So those are some of the things that we've come across most recently. If you have additional questions, definitely reach out. We're available on liquidhealth.news. We're also available at biotoxinfoundation.org. I am your host, Jefferson Nunn. Glad to have you.